A warm welcome to this Solita crash course about transformation beyond projects and technology. Today, we will talk about how to avoid driving in the wrong direction with speed and confidence by planning your transformation from the start in a holistic manner. We will start our presentation with a short introduction about why this topic is relevant right now. Then we will look into the main reasons companies fail in their transformative efforts. After that, we will dig into how successful transformations are built and what all is required to achieve the wanted outcome. Throughout the presentation, we will be referring to real client cases and capture the lessons learned from the real world. At the end, we will briefly recap the most important things to take away from today. The whole session will last 1.5 hours, so we should be done by 10:30 Central European Summer Time. I'm Alia Lepistö. I'm a Senior Data and AI Business Designer at Solita. With me, I have my lovely colleagues, Mira and Camilla.
Right, I'm Camilla Parflo. I'm a Transformation Lead from Solita Sweden.
And I am Mira Isomäki. I'm a Change Management Expert from Solita Finland. And a little bit about Solita, for those who maybe are not yet familiar with us. We're an IT consultancy of around 2,200 people in 9 countries, founded and based in Finland. We're a tech company with a twist. That means that we do things maybe a little differently. We like to, for example, dive deep in to understand the challenges so that we can tackle the right problems and create impact that really lasts. We work in strategy, data, AI, design, cloud, connectivity, development, and software. But we always combine tech with human insight. And quickly, some housekeeping rules. Please share your comments in the chat. Ask your questions in the Q&A tab. All of this will be recorded for later viewing. And under the Docs tab, you will find more resources.
But kicking off our session, let's talk a bit about what transformation is and what it means to us. So the Oxford Dictionaries states it's a complete change or alteration in something, especially a radical one. So the emphasis being on complete and radical. So when we apply this to business transformation, we mean it's a deliberate, strategic and managed organizational-wide change that fundamentally reshapes how a company creates value and competes. Sometimes we use change and transformation interchangeably, but we state that in order to transform, you have to manage change, or rather, change management efforts are required to transform. So what drives transformation then? Well, it's not ambition alone. It's certainly not strategy decks or buzzwords. Transformations are absolutely critical for both survival and growth, particularly in today's environment, where you're constantly being disrupted and customer expectations evolve rapidly. Companies that don't adapt, they risk falling behind. So transformation enables organizations to stay competitive by rethinking how they create value and how to be more agile and responsive. But it's not just about fixing what is broken. It's about unlocking new opportunities and revenues and avenues for growth. So this is not new to us, transformation. We've been transforming ever since we left the plains of Africa, going through some major industrial shifts in the last century. But the pace has been increasing in the last decades, and more than ever now in the absolute last one. When the ERP system came, this was massive. The ability to manage cost and the process efficiency. And then came digitalization. Can you imagine doing shopping and banking online?
Wild.
Nope.
Wild, yeah. And the whole cloud journey and what data has done for that, and now AI. Who can imagine where we will go going forward? So executives, they expect a continuous rise in large-scale transformation, given the golden era that we're in. With all our history and experience of change, Mira, does that mean that we're really good at it now?
Sadly, we only seem to be getting worse. It's widely reported that transformation initiatives often face significant challenges and high failure rates. While exact figures can vary depending on the definition of transformation and failure, several reputable organizations' sources provide compelling statistics. The failure rates are high. From Kotter's 70% failure rate, we've gone up to an 88% failure rate. According to Bain & Company in 2024, a striking 88% of business transformations fail to achieve their original ambitions. McKinsey frequently states that around 70% of transformations fail to meet their objectives, whether in improving performance or culture. And similarly, Deloitte suggests that an astonishing 70% of digital transformation projects fail.
70%?
We are bad.
Ay, ay, ay.
We live in an ever-changing world, and new tech innovations are making changes and the need for change even faster, and we know that. Most often, even failed transformations do have good intentions. The intention is to create something transformative and new. But paradoxically, when things get busy, we start to look closer and focus on things that are easy and obvious. And in our IT world, it usually means focusing on the tech side. We deliver projects, implement tech, start reorganizations, and focus on departments and units. Consequently, we then struggle with changing behaviors, changing decision-making, sustaining the started change, and really leveraging the change throughout the organization. Focusing on the left and ignoring the things on the right, they are the basic recipe for failure in transformations. And both of these, they need effort to happen. Transformation is something we become, not something we can install or implement. It is becoming something new, a process, and a new permanent state. Now, Camilla has a tale of two companies to share.
Yes, we do. So this crash course is, of course, about content and findings based on our real experience and knowledge. What we have found to be the success criteria and what are the transformation killers, because these seem to be quite universal. But when talking about transformations, sort of when we give you the do's and the don'ts, we want to anchor these statements and apply them through a comparison of two companies' real transformation. One we participated in directly, and the other one where we were a bit on the sideline. But to give you some context and some background to these two companies, Company A was doing a business model transformation. They had this idea of a slightly new, or rather expanded service that was going to give them increased sales, revenues, cash flows, and margins. A proper business opportunity waiting to be grabbed. Company B was doing a little bit of a different change. It was an operating model transformation, and they were after increasing time to value for their IT deliveries. And they were using an established methodology, something that was well proven in terms of functions and results. So it looked fairly simple on paper. So they both needed to manage change, communicate the vision, and bring people along. And one succeeded and one did not. Why? Was changed because operating model, business model, a little bit different, but they were both company-wide. They both needed a good managed transformation. The fun part here is that they're quite similar, and we wanted to see if that made an impact. Is it because who you are as a company, sort of your size or location or your history of knowledge? But it's hard to find two companies that are completely the same and are doing the same transformation. So we thought, let's go for the striking similarities. And it's not that big a difference in types of change. And these companies are in the same industry, right about the same size, same location, same history, same legacy issues or not, same competence pool and skill sets. So was it the transformation itself, or was it the premise? And we'd like to argue, no, it wasn't what, it was how they chose to manage their transformation. And this is what we will dive into during this crash course. We will revisit these 2 client cases at the end, then we go through what we propose as a transformation framework, and we will apply that. And then we will see if our conclusions still apply, if they make sense to you. But starting with the pitfalls, always start with the negative. What is it that we notice when transformations go south in a company?
Yeah, actually, when we talk about transformation failures, most organizations only see the tip of the iceberg, the visible lack of success. But what actually sinks transformations isn't what you can see. It's everything lurking beneath the surface. So above the waterline, failure is obvious. Projects miss deadlines, your expected return on investment doesn't materialize, leadership announces a transformation, and nothing really changes. But that visible failure is just a symptom. The real damage is happening below the surface, where most leaders aren't looking. So let me walk you through what's actually killing these initiatives. First, it's strategy execution gap. So there are beautiful vision decks that never translate into action. We've all seen it. It's boardroom enthusiasm that dies in middle management.
Famous middle management.
Ouch.
Then it's the people challenges. So your best talent starts leaving because they're exhausted from all the constant change. Your employee engagement tanks because people don't understand why this should matter to them. Also, you have siloed organization. So teams are protecting their own turf instead of collaborating. Everyone's rowing in different directions. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Superficial change. So you have new branding, new org charts, new buzzwords, but the fundamental problems still there. So you've actually rearranged the deck chairs of the Titanic.
Ooh, that's harsh.
But it's true. And then there's customer disconnect. So the transformation serves internal politics, not actual customer needs. So here's my challenge to you. When you're leading transformation work, which layer of the iceberg are you addressing? Because if you're only working above the waterline, fixing symptoms, pushing harder on execution, you're going to fail. Real transformation means diving deep, confronting the uncomfortable truths, and redesigning from bottom up. So let's dive deeper into the reasons for these failures. In our view, the main reasons can be divided into 3 categories of pitfalls. First, you have culture and behavior. People will support what they help build. Culture will determine if your transformation sticks or if it dies. Second, you have leadership and governance. Your systems reward the past, not the future. If incentives don't change, neither will the behavior. And third, over-reliance on technology. Transformation is not just a tech upgrade. It's a business and societal shift. So, Mira, can you tell us more about the usual pitfalls related to culture and behavior?
Sure. We all know that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Sadly, it also eats transformations for lunch.
It's a hungry beast.
It's a hungry beast. When doing transformations, you can ignore culture, but you will be doing it at your own peril. Anything that goes against the company culture has precious little chance to succeed. Also, resistance to change is not usually a given or an attitude problem. It's born out of poor change management. It's a sign that something was missed. The most common things that make transformations fail in terms of culture are, first of all, lack of involvement, especially meaningful and relevant involvement. Participating just for the sake of it, it doesn't really work. Also, lack of meaningful enabling actions that help people to tackle the change, such as training, support, and preparation. Just hoping that people will do things doesn't work. They need to be enabled to deal with the changes. Furthermore, ignoring company culture and its change history, very important to pay attention to. Also, overwhelming people with too many or too frequent changes. Our cognitive capability is still limited. If people are overburdened, they won't have the capability to focus on even those really critical changes. And people support what they understand and help to build. It is hard to support or drive something that you don't understand or see relevant, or if it goes against your culture. Culture pretty much determines whether transformation fails. The most common pitfalls related to leadership and governance are lack of clarity, especially leadership not being clear on why we're doing this and what it will lead to. Also lacking executive ownership and drive, or leaders saying different things or prioritizing different goals. Also measuring the wrong things or not measuring at all, including lack of insights, KPIs, bonuses, or performance reviews, still rewarding the old behaviors, not the new ones, and inadequate resource allocations. And very importantly, poor communication and engagement, especially lack of dialogue and meaning for all concerned. Executives may be reverting to old behaviors under pressure, and middle management resists due to lack of understanding or time. Very importantly, if the leadership and governance are not actively building and promoting the new way and reality will clash. Transformation leadership and governance must be built for supporting and rewarding the new ways of working, not the old ones.
And then we have the tech part, our beloved tech. We tend to believe it's our savior. If it's the latest and the greatest, it will magically sort out all our problems, with little else to do than to just implement it. And it's best if that's done without disturbing our business. But when we were involved in a master data management program at one of our clients, I actually had to tell the business leaders who were complaining about all the work that they had to put in, that an MDM system is not a magical washing machine. It will not automatically understand your processes and harmonize your data. So why do the Nordic countries invest more in tech, but less in impact in comparison to their European counterparts? Is it because we have such strong engineering backgrounds, souls? If there's a problem, let's wave the magic tech wand on it and we'll be grand. We consciously choose or not choose to ignore people part that is connected to the new tech. And we have a tendency to apply old ways of working as it feels safer. It's something we also see in a lot of data transformation projects or programs. I mean, a new data platform will kind of make us data-driven. But introducing a new data platform without transformation is basically you creating a more expensive version of the same problems. New platform, same decisions, same quality and ownership gaps, same politics around the numbers. The only thing that changes is the invoice, and generally not in the direction that you were hoping for. And to top that off, one of the other business areas just bought another competing data platform because they liked it better.
Of course.
Of course. I'm not saying that technology is not absolutely critical. And it can do fantastic. It gives us fantastic opportunities as tools. So it enables change, but it doesn't drive it alone.
Yeah, actually, most companies don't fail at transformation. They just avoid it entirely. They try to add new ways of working on top of old systems, old incentives, and old culture, instead of actually changing them. Why? Because real transformation, it's messy and risky. So instead, they optimize their existing systems, buy expensive technology, and call that a transformation. It's safer. You won't get fired for sub-optimizing. It's fundable. Boards understand tech purchases. It's explainable. You can show a project plan. And crucially, it has an end, unlike real transformation, which is continuous and uncomfortable. But here's the problem. While companies play it safe, the world is accelerating, especially now with AI. Yet we still expect people to just figure it out with outdated processes and incremental thinking. That gap, that's not a transformation failure. That's a strategy failure disguised as a transformation.
And just to sum it up a little bit, we always have a tech project and a tech solution that needs to be built. At some point, it will need to be implemented, the go live. But if we think about in terms of value realization, it only starts at go live. The value comes from people using the solution. Therefore, if we only focus on the tech part, we neglect the value creation part. We need to plan and manage the transformation right from the start, as the green triangle doesn't happen automatically or by chance. That's why you need change management, to actively build and ensure that the people will use the solution as intended and permanently to unlock the full value. And with AI, the cycles shrink, the tech accelerates, learning time collapses, and AI raises the complexity. Yet we still expect people to just figure it out. With AI affecting the project timelines and condensing them, it will become even more important to plan for the transformation and start change management right from the start. There will no longer be the possibility simply to think implementations closer to when they happen. I'd like to ask you in a semi-serious way, following a bit Camilla's lead here, are we more problem-oriented and not that much solution-oriented here in the Nordics with our engineering souls? If there's an issue, we seem to think that a hard tech solution should solve it. Also, our companies are usually organized in silos, which is contrary to transformation, which is organization-wide. The uncomfortable aspect of transformation is that it will cause disruption to the way we operate, lead, and make decisions. Who gets to decide? Where does accountability sit? What expertise to prioritize? What competencies will be central? And what will happen to the roles we have? It is really easy, therefore, to avoid transformation part and focus only on the tech part.
In Sweden, we don't like uncomfortable.
Yeah, us neither. But the old truth remains, if you want to change things, then at least some things must change. And it's best that the change happening in a planned and managed way. If you wouldn't leave a project unmanaged, don't leave a change or a transformation unmanaged. So, those were the uncomfortable truths. But what about the comfortable truths, Alia?
Yeah, let's go to those. I would claim that you can think of transformation like conducting an orchestra. Everyone needs to play their part, follow the same score, and move in rhythm. That's what successful organizations do. So what separates winners from pretenders? First of all, they assign clear business ownership. So it's not IT projects, it's business-led initiatives that are aligned to real priorities. Also, they encourage risk-taking and learning from failure. Experimentation isn't punished, it's expected. Then leadership commitment, it's not just a kick-off speech. It's accountability and relentless progress tracking. Also, they secure cultural alignment and engagement. People understand the why, and they feel part of the transformation. The winners, they accept that change is continuous, not a project with an end date, but a new operating rhythm. They build repeatable capabilities and frameworks. So transformation becomes muscle memory, not improvisation. This isn't rocket science, it's orchestration. And like any orchestra, you need everyone playing from the same sheet music. At Solita, we call this sheet music a transformation framework, and we apply it to our customers' transformation activities. Mira will introduce us to the different levels of the framework.
When we talk about transformation, it's really about giving the organization the means to adapt, align, and create value on a permanent basis. Transformations cannot be injected into the organization. They need to be built. They also require planning and conscious effort, not just random activities. At Solita, our expertise shows that transformation programs require a holistic change management approach that needs to address all the different layers, from strategic to operational. Unfortunately, ticking the infamous comms and training boxes or doing isolated operational activities is simply just not enough to ensure the success of investments on the scale we see in our work. But through planned and managed change, we activate different organizational roles in these different layers and ensure that diverse perspectives are brought in. This is how ownership and leadership is built throughout the organization. So, Camilla, what do transformations then take to succeed?
Yes, so what we have learned throughout our, by now, quite long careers, and the vast pool of knowledge and experience in Solita, of course, are the quite universal truth about what is actually required to successfully transform. And we can bundle this into 6 pillars. It starts with purpose and direction. Very much like a train needs the locomotive to know where it's going and pulling the other parts in a synergistic way. So it starts with clarity and not activity. The clear why delivered from strong leadership. If the why isn't clear, you're not transforming, you're busy. Secondly, the leaders, they have to go first because culture mirrors leadership behavior and not the slide decks. You have to walk the talk, as people will not do as you tell them to do, they will do as you do. And new structures will mean nothing if decision-making stays the same. Thirdly, you will have to measure what matters and reward what counts. Lesson we learned early on, people will only do what they measured for. Whatever they say, when the going gets tough, they will focus only what they promoted for. So you have to align metrics, incentives, and promotions with the change that you want. And if you don't set the direction and track the progress along the way, how will you know that you're going a good way or a bad way? 4, people, the big one. Involve them early, empower them always, because as Mira said, people support what they shape. If they are not in it, you will not win it, because culture still eats strategy for breakfast and
Transformations for lunch.
yes, still hungry.
How about the dinner?
Unclear. We'll come back to that.
It is a hungry beast.
It's a hungry beast. Yeah. 5th, it's a little thing you don't maybe think about so much, but actually you have to stop before you start. Sounds a bit contradictory, but it's about freeing up capacity by removing old legacy work, duplicate initiatives, and conflicting priorities. Because if you keep everything on and add transformation on top, you're not transforming, you're overloading. Last, make change holistic and continuous, because it's not just a program. It's how you operate. To celebrate wins, normalize learnings from failures, and kill the fear of experimentation as you deliver in an incremental and adjustable way. And while you're at it, build this into a reusable discipline, because it will be needed to both sustain the change you're in and the upcoming changes. So Mira, first one.
Yes,
Important.
the clarity. Every transformation should start with a very, very clear change vision of why we're doing it, followed by clear messages around what, why, how, what are we looking for, etc. Also, what happens if we don't do this change? It may be the most important thing to answer to people. A clear, effective vision is needed for both the project and for communicating the change towards the organization. It really acts like a beacon for everybody involved. Change vision can then be crystallized into clear key messages that answers the critical "what's in it for me" question for all involved. And unfortunately, a technical specification, it really isn't a change vision. Without this clear change vision, communicating about change outside the project becomes really difficult. And for the project members, the vision also gives the right direction for decision making. And what really hammered this down for me was a customer case I had a few years ago. It was a large system project for a global manufacturer, 2 units that for the first time had to use the same system. 35 plus members in the project team, so huge money involved, 2 years in the making. But they had been in a complete standstill for several months already, because both units saw things very differently, and they constantly brought up technical details that they wanted to be solved before they could proceed. In reality, when I was called in and we did some basic analysis, the reason wasn't technical at all, it was the lack of vision. The people involved didn't have anything to lean to when they were making their decisions. The project had just been started based on technical requirements, and the vision had never ever been defined. And after 2 years, the lack of vision started to create problems. In the end, when we found the reason, it only took us 2 workshops to revisit the reasons and create that common vision. And after that, poof, magic. Yeah, it seems we can do a bit of magic every now and then.
You've been to Hogwarts a bit.
Yeah, I have just visited. But all the so-called technical problems, they just disappeared immediately, and a joint agreement on the way forward was found almost instantly.
I envy you for that magic. So leaders actually usually say, we want empowerment, we want faster decisions, we want innovation. But actually, decisions are still escalated upward. Risk-taking is quietly punished, and old reporting structures remain intact. The consequence? People follow signals, not speeches. As people are the core of your transformation, this is where it usually breaks. So the hard question is, who is allowed to decide what, how fast, and with how much friction? New structures mean nothing if decision-making stays the same. So what must leaders do differently? So first of all, stop approving projects and start setting the direction. Then stop controlling the delivery and start pushing the authority to where the value is created. Also, stop asking for those status updates. Start asking for the outcomes. Stop managing the risk and start managing adaptability. Also, stop investing in the tech only. You need to start investing in transformation. And very importantly, stop focusing on go live. You need to start focusing on benefit realization and value creation. Remember, your organization is perfectly designed for the results it currently gets, not the future it wants to achieve. So you really need to model the future because culture copies the leadership. Then when we come into the measurements, so most transformations actually measure the wrong things. They have traditional metrics that track milestones, budgets, timelines, basically activity. But here's the shift. Modern metrics track impact, adoption, and capability growth. So progress is measured in outcomes, not in outputs. Think of it like driving a car. The KPIs, they're your dashboard, the things you constantly watch. It's the speed, the fuel, the engine temperature. These are permanent indicators. It's like customer satisfaction, utilization rate, revenue per unit. Then you have your OKRs, so the objectives and their key results. These are your GPS waypoints. They are temporary destinations. Once you reach one mountain, you move to the next. They're time-bound goals with measurable key results that track behavioral change. To be able to track meaningful progress, you need to, first of all, define value hypothesis upfront. What impact do we actually expect? You need to track behavioral change, not just the implementation. And you need to kill initiatives that don't create impact. That's a tricky one. You have data and analytics that provide visibility that can shape your continuous transformation work. So you need to make sure that you measure what really matters and you reward what counts. If your metrics don't align with your desired outcomes, you're just measuring activity, and that doesn't equal value.
And now the people pillar, my
You
favorite. Yeah. People really are the make or break of a transformation. When we talk about changes, we tend to use very passive language. We talk how things happen, something went well or that didn't go well. And in reality, change is never random. Change is a process, and it can and should be absolutely managed. It's a conscious shift from the present state to a desired future state. We are talking about a systemic approach. Every change contains basic elements that can be recognized, no matter what the industry, domain, or project. We can therefore influence changes by recognizing these basic elements. But, however, every change is unique. It depends on what the change is like and what the organization is like. So unfortunately, it means that we don't have any one-size-fits-all solutions. It would make my work so much easier if we had. Every transformation must therefore be analyzed and planned, and we must find out what are the ways that work for this specific change and for this specific organization.
Every pillar has to be tailored.
Yeah. We must also understand, what are we really changing in people's lives? Often projects are even named tool process projects and system projects. But when we stop and analyze what are all the things we're changing for people, we realize that a tool project may actually touch many other elements, such as processes, critical behaviors, etc. If we don't understand what we're changing for people, all of the implications, is very likely that we are just simply not doing the right things for them. Ignoring the impacts means that we miss important things, and that can and will cause problems, including resistance. And anything that gets in a way close to people, such as compensation, performance reviews, etc., they are the most sensitive ones to manage and the ones that can really, really derail your plans. All transformations require change in mindset and behavior, and often at least 3 or even more of the areas in the picture are impacted. I very recently had a project where even the people building the solution called it a management tool. They very much saw it as a management tool. But when we took the stakeholders groups in the loop and analyzed what are all the ways that we are impacting them, almost all of the areas in the picture were impacted. The most important finding, though, was that the new ways of working, they would have been in direct conflict with their existing evaluation criteria, which would have meant that adopting the new ways would have been in conflict with the employees' own interests. So finding out all of the implications, it enabled us to better calibrate and plan both the transformation and the project, enabling also the customer to address that conflict proactively. We understand the need for communication and communicating about transformation and how important it is. But in reality, communication is often done in a very one-sided way, informing. And if you search for picture libraries, even the symbols are megaphones. Yeah. And that's really the worst possible symbol for true communication. Dialogue is the key for efficient change communication, and why I have started to use the word dialogue instead of communication. It is by nature two-directional. It gives the ability to ask questions and get answers. It's very effective in reducing resistance. But people must always get those answers. And by the way, we don't know yet. It's a very good answer. It is an answer. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. Interaction is the key to dialogue. And do communicate often. Repeat those key messages and use different channels. Communicate also as early as you can, because those communication voids will be filled with something. Either you fill them or somebody else will. And avoid blanket messages. Focus on the meaning for that specific group. Change dialogue also has to happen on two levels. First of all, the upper level, the big picture. It is the C-level messages about reasons, targets, and strategies. This should explain the need for change and what happens if we don't do this now. And it should come from the top and also give mandate and direction for those executing the change. Then we need the other level, the people level, and those messages should come from the immediate managers. And the focus of the lower level dialogue is to answer, what's in it for me, which is the most important question to answer in change. It should be practical messaging for this group, implications, requirements, schedules on an everyday level. Too often what we see is that only one of these levels is done. If you only have the big picture, you get the strategies that don't turn into the action due to lack of everyday meaning. If you only have the lower level, it means lack of direction and causes different understandings of the common goal. It's that rowing into different directions that Alia talked about. And very importantly, again, never communicate solely from the project's perspective, meaning what you have been doing in the project. Answering the what's in it for me should be in focus. What does this all mean for the people? But transformations also need focus.
They do. And as I said when talking about the pillars, protecting focus means actually remove before you add, because your capacity is finite. Whatever you would like, there's only so much we can do. And we tend to see our clients and customers are under a lot of transformation these days. Everything is moving at the same time. And whilst we're having to uphold the old environments or the old processes and ways of working. So most of our customers struggle with this, and so do we, actually. And it's also directly related to the leadership and priorities. Because you have to set the priorities straight. What is it possible to do with the people capacity that we have? To set the priors, kill your darlings, or postpone it a bit in the future. Another key early phrase then that we actually learned was keep the lights on only. Minimize work in the legacy systems, sort of remove all new development and to change faster. It's better to break it down into small pieces, sequence it, and remove something one bit at a time to let people focus if it's possible. Because they can only handle so much at one time. We're women. We know that multitasking is a myth. And overloading an organization can actually kill transformation faster than resistance.
I claim that if transformation is a one-off effort, it has already failed. Transformation is a process, so it needs to stick. Studies show that companies investing in a transformation capability are the leaders. They achieve higher value faster. Why? Because they build transformation as a systematic process, not a project. Real transformation capability is continuous, holistic, and repeatable. It's an organizational muscle. This means it needs to be people-focused. So change happens through your people, not through the processes. It needs to be facilitated. So you need to provide the tools, the coaching, the support. Also, it needs to be connected to your development. The change process is tightly tied to what you're building. In that way, you ensure relevance and adoption. Also, it needs to be clear and concise. No jargon, no complexity for complexity's sake. And at the center, you have your toolbox for transformation. That's the vision, the roadmap, the objectives, the training, the coaching, the measuring, and so forth. But here's the key. You have to build the skills, the resources, and capacity to manage transformations. You need to reinforce new behaviors until they become a habit. It's a loop. It's a capability that gets stronger with use. And without this, every transformation starts from zero, reinventing the wheel and burning people out. With the framework and your toolbox, transformation becomes how you operate. And you actually can't afford to keep starting from scratch every time. Also, when talking about transformations, there is no ready. If you're waiting for the perfect moment, you've already lost, and you are lost. So building change is a process that takes time. It must start as early as possible. Close to implementation is way too late. And you need to remember that project readiness does not equal change readiness. AI is shortening project timelines, but building the change capability still depends on people's cognitive abilities, and those have not gotten any better or faster.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So remember, changes are built, and you can't skip this construction phase. So let's end this section with a quote from Forrester. Technology and process are foundational, but cultural alignment and employee engagement are the differentiators. So everyone can buy the same tech, everyone can copy processes, but culture and engagement, that's what separates winners from the rest. So if you're not investing in people and culture, you're just upgrading your infrastructure, not transforming your business. You will be driving fast in the wrong direction.
Never a good idea.
Nope.
Right. Now we've been through the do's and the don'ts. So let's revisit our client cases that we started the presentation with and apply our learnings. Do they still make sense? So, firstly, coming back to company A and company B. So company A, we're doing a business model change. They were going after set margins, revenues, and increased sales, touching not the entire company, but a big part of the business areas. Company B, they were doing an IT operating change, changing how to deliver their digital services together with the business. Let's use these 6 pillars now and break it down to what they did so we find out who succeeded and who did not. Direction. It started with clarity or lack of it. In company A, it was kind of nailed. Had a very clear impact on revenue, solid business case, and commitment from all impacted business areas. Everyone knew why they were transforming and how to get there. In company B, sure, they had a proven methodology, but ask them how to actually reach the value. Some vague answers, results disconnected from any real outcomes. Kind of a plan without a destination, fortunately. Secondly, leadership. Well, they either owned it or vanished. In company A, the executive management didn't just sponsor, they owned it. It was a strategic priority. IT and business were co-delivering because we were changing the processes on the business side. It was supported by the people and the systems on the IT side. So one program team working together. And they pulled in experts and also impacted staff through co-design sessions that could sort of set into a feedback loop. And they adjusted as they went along. In company B, executive management, silence. Well, they did approve for this to be done, but it was a new IT leadership team coming in from outside with minimal business alignment and minimal business understanding of the existing culture. Proven recipe for disaster. So thirdly, one measured the outcome and the other just numbers. Company A built in flexibility and let it take its time. And I know a CFO will never love an ongoing plan without any sort of deliveries and how to put money on this. But you have to have some tolerance. And if you break it down into these incremental deliveries, as they did and adjusted along the way, it's easily done. And added to that, it was a new leadership structure and a bonus system that aligned to the success, making people more motivated, of course. So they measured what mattered. Company B had a date. It needs to take a year max. No connection to value, stress timeline, impossible targets. That was kind of a number. We'll have this number. How do you know if that number is good or bad? Is 500 better than 1,000 or 1,500?
Depends on the case.
Depends on the case entirely. And the decision-making structure, well, that stayed the same. People, Mira.
My favorite thing.
Yes,
Well,
and they were either included or left in the dark. In company A, top management communicated constantly. There were co-design sessions with impacted staff, as I told about, getting these feedback loops, progress shared at every major event, not to just those who were impacted, but on an overall company level, because everyone were interested. This is sort of affecting all of us. If we do this right, it will be good for us. So in company B, well, it was a little bit more of a secret society. Some blurry updates flying in, like we're here now, but it's really hard to understand. No real feedback on what was happening, no involvement from the people, sort of not understanding the company culture and how that can impact what you transform. So it was a classic of the question, what's in it for me, never answered. When it comes to priorities and focus, well, one focused and the other confused. Company A took the time to get this right. The careful co-design session planned in due time, the incremental delivery, letting you adjust the course as you went along, and the built-in time flexibility to course correct. Company B, struggling with a rigid deadline, no room to adjust. And also the program leaders, which was the new IT management team, where they have to do the double work because they were also needed to focus on the line management work whilst doing this transformation. So everything dragged, and then suddenly panic. A little bit of case, change rushed through, and nobody was ready. Lastly, built to last or built to break. Company A, they reused what worked. They had done this before, and they had tried to save their learnings into templates and processes and change management, advisory and organizational knowledge. And they added to this capability as they went along. And of course, that knowledge existed in Company B too. And that could have been used. But as it was a new team, not really picking this up, it wasn't used. Only leaning on external best practices, which there were a lot of, because this was a proven methodology. But it didn't work exactly like that into this company culture. So big bang change, and these learnings neither collected, actually. Now the conclusion. Question? No. Company B is unfortunately where it didn't work, if you hadn't already guessed. Company A, in contrast, they succeeded through clarity, collaboration, and adaptability, building something that lasted and kept on giving, because it's still in play today, and it works well for them. And now I know that we're giving Company B some serious tough love here. And, you know, we're giving it very black and white, the good and the bad, for a little bit of a dramatic purpose. And that's not really the case, of course, in real life. And had they succeeded, it would have greatly benefited their digital deliveries. And as I say, in real life, of course, there were hiccups in Company A and failures, but it was okay. And for Company B, there were a lot of good outcomes and learnings that was still embedded into the company backbone. But a series of non-wise decisions, maybe, sort of creating a domino effect, took the transformation down. Starting with not securing business commitment and accountability to running the transformation outside its people. And Mira is very upset by this, of course. So are we. The transformation was forced through but eventually roll back. It took 18 months to undo this, that they spent at least a year to do. Now that's a double whammy in the worst possible way. So, at the end, we don't have a hard, solid solution for you. And this will make it tough for your engineers out there. Instead, it's a problem that is a hard nut to crack. But it requires mainly soft skills to do so. A bit contradictory.
Yeah, I still maintain that people are the hardest thing in the world.
It's true. Yeah. It is true. And companies that thrive are typically those that view transformation as an ongoing requirement and not a one-off program. These organizations embed continuous improvements into their culture, the backbone, and they invest in innovation, and they are proactive about the change rather than reactive when it has to be done. But most importantly, I think if the change is company-wide, like we saw in our two ones, then all the impacted people have to be on board. Take our company B now, where the IT leader had a really good idea. I can transform how you do your digital development and deliveries, and transformation that would have greatly benefited them. But the executive management saying, sure, that sounds great, but you got about a year because we have other really important topics on our agenda. Does that sound like a company ready to go through a massive?
Nope.
Nope. Then you have to have the courage to say, okay, then we will do it this way. I will find one bounded business area, which has a business sponsor who will work alongside me. We will implement this, we will learn, we will adjust, and then the rest of you will go, sign me up, I'm ready to do this, because this actually works. If it's possible. If you're doing like a big ERP transformation, you're ripping out the central part of your organization, sort of your heart of the business operations, then it's really difficult to just let's do this little bit because they're all interconnected. There's so many interdependencies into this. It kind of requires military precision planning. These are the times that you love Microsoft projects. You can see all the dependencies and all the planning all the time. It's like, ooh, it's hard to break that down. You can still do it sequentially, bit by bit, but it's hard to say, I'll prove value just doing one bit. Then it's like, then we'll not do it at all. And that's the courage.
You're either in or you're out.
Either in or out, yes. I know, it sounds a bit tough, right? Again. You say there, can we not just buy the system or the platform and hope it will be a catalyst for change? Well, yes and no. As I said, a platform is definitely an enabler, and we can do that part where we take one business area who's ready. Finance, are you ready to go? Let's make you data-driven. Let's put everything here and you can work with the data, and then prove it to the rest. Who doesn't want to fall behind? But to fully transform and reap all the benefits of a company-wide organization, then everyone has to climb in a coordinated and orchestrated effort. Any last clever words about this, a wise change expert? Whisperer.
Of course. We are seeing a very clear trend sped up by AI that for transformations and investments to succeed, we must shift our focus from those outputs to those outcomes. This means letting go of the project focus and putting more focus on the organizational adaptation. It's all about moving from temporarily funded, local, centrally managed and change-averse organizations towards persistent and value-based teams, outcome focus, empowered decision-making, and continuous but managed changes. It really is a shift from outputs to outcomes. Also, with technology, there's always the danger of seeing a new shiny bit of technology as a silver hammer. And a silver hammer is a combination of the silver bullet that will solve all your problems and the hammer that makes all your problems look like nails. And we see this happening with AI at the moment. It's fast becoming a silver hammer for many executives and organizations. But even AI won't be like that. Its success will still depend on how well people use it. And AI transformations are, above all, about ways of working. AI technology is definitely a great enabler. It's a real game changer. But the results will still be determined by how well people use it. In reality, AI is a bit more like a Swiss Army knife. Your people will still need to know what tools to use, how to use them in different situations, the expectations, the limitations, and the whats and the whys. It's really not just about using AI, it's about using AI right so that it brings the value you seek. And that is the real transformation. People really are your best AI asset. It is the people, it is the people, it is the people.
People are and should be at the core of everything that we do.
Yes.
I think that's a great way to close this presentation.
Yes.
Like, if you take away from this people, we're happy. So how about the people on the line? Do you have any questions? I'm very happy to answer them. Let me check.
Do you have some 25 minutes at least?
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, this one is an interesting one. What are the most demanded areas in AI transformation now? Is it agentic AI? Do you, Mira, have any visibility to that?
I think the requests are heavily still focusing on the technical side.
Yeah.
So agentic AI, building those.
But I would claim from what I've seen that most companies, they're still doing a lot of experimentation and a lot of like
POCs.
getting to know the technologies and figuring out what to do. And they haven't maybe yet thought of the transformation.
No,
So
no, it's still more sort of figuring out what the transformation will be.
Yeah. And none of us knows.
Yeah.
So we need to figure it out.
But I do see that because a couple of years ago we were talking a lot about being data-driven.
Yeah.
Now we talk about being AI-driven.
Yeah.
And I always think, what does that mean for you as a company? And as you say, this is the question that hasn't been figured out. It's more about using, let's find ways to use agentic AI to help us. But it's not about a real transformation yet.
But then again, I love the fact that you're always trying to solve a real problem.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what is it that we're solving? And
Yes.
then the transformation is how you make that happen.
Because you can use AI, of course, in everything you do to speed up.
Yeah.
But as people say, if you only use it for efficiency, you're not unlocking the real value.
Yeah.
That comes from finding new opportunities and
It is
avenues
the
for growth.
Swiss Army knife. You can do pretty much anything, but you will need to decide what you want to do with it.
There's actually a follow-up question to this agentic AI topic. How will you help with agentic AI? I'll give you the floor very soon, but I would claim that it's all the same. So, of course, the agents will do the work, but there's still people behind making decisions and of hopefully orchestrating this.
Yeah. It's a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, as you say, what problems are you trying to solve or what opportunities are you looking for? Maybe it is all about efficiency. Then, of course, we direct it to that, trying to find the areas where there's pain points, where you're suffering, and see if it's applicable. Because sometimes it might be a people issue. But I mean, always, as I said, there can be some efficiency throughout the agentic AIs. But the tricky part is really to compete and finding new opportunities and just go looking for and doing some POCs. That's a different type of investigation, but it's not a real transformation program. Then it's more like let's see if we can find something that could work. And then it's sort of proof of concepts.
Yeah, and I claim that what you showed nicely, that AI is accelerating the project part with agentic AI even more.
Yeah.
But that just puts more emphasis on the transformation part.
Yeah, and start with clarity. What do you want to use it for? The vision.
Yeah, and if you don't know, it's not a transformation yet. It's it's sort of analysis or investigation project. Let's try our bearing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong in that, but
no.
Yeah.
It should start like that, if you don't know.
So another question, actually very interesting. How does Solita typically engage transformation specialists in these journeys? I lead transformation initiatives myself, and I'd love to explore how I could contribute in similar contexts. Mira, do you?
Sorry, can I see the question?
How does Solita typically engage transformation specialists in these journeys?
In a multitude of ways. Sometimes we are part of the program from the right from the start. That's obviously the best way to ensure that everything happens. But then again, if you are already running into trouble, you already realize that some points have just simply not been covered, give us a call. We can jump in. You can always do something, even in the middle of the program.
Yeah.
But then we go back and we come to these 6 pillars and we look at them.
Yeah.
Is there a vision, a clear direction? Who do you have on the business side that leads this? Are everyone on board? Do they understand what's in it for me? Are they ready to adopt?
Yeah.
Do they have the time? Because this is a big problem, the focus time.
Tons and tons of questions. That's how we start.
Yeah.
And I would claim that it's crucial and it's great if we can get into the project immediately, already in the proposal phase, and actually plan properly what we do. But I've seen several times that due to different reasons that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then things go wrong, and then we rush in. And that's usually much more difficult.
Yeah. So as early as you can, preferably.
Yeah. And it's also the problem that like we were saying, transformations are always unique, and people are unique. So there's not, we can't say it's always going to go like this, but using the pillars and especially looking at what all is changing, like what are you impacting, that's going to help you to figure out where you need to be working.
And find those pain points. Sometimes it's not usually rocket science to find those answers when you get that analysis done.
Yeah. And I was also going to say that sometimes we do come into a transformation and then we see it can't be done like I talked about the company B. We don't have that commitment, we don't have enough time and so on. So let's take that down a notch and we focus on what we can do. In a more bounded context, and you take it from there, because there's no point of going complete organizational-wide transformation if you don't have the ability and capability to do so.
There's always something we can do, but how much depends on when do we step in.
The right way.
Then, very different question, how to convince skeptics that AI and digitalization work and offer genuine improvements, how to explain the return on investment.
You have to have a case where you can apply it to and show, put them side by side and show, this is how we do it the normal way, this is what we can do here to make it more efficient.
And I think it's about use cases, so you're solving a real problem.
It has to be a real
problem. And then it also goes back to what you were saying, that what happens if we don't change?
Yes.
So sometimes
that is a very good one.
Sometimes that is the most important question to answer for people who are, especially those who are not expert in this field. What happens if we don't do this? We fall behind our competitors. That is a pretty compelling reason.
Yes, and even those leaders who are ahead of the game have to consistently work on the game unless, if someone catches up. So
and I think the numbers, so the return on investment, it's of course early on, it's really difficult to get them like super exact. But you will get ballpark figures that show well enough that this is a meaningful thing to do.
But that you touched upon something really important, because for many transformation programs or projects that I'm involved in, there's no business case. Because in the business case, you look at the cost, but you also look at the benefits. And you connect it to something real. And when you skip that, then it's really hard to convince people.
Going on to another question. Referring to the client cases that you showed or talked about, obviously you worked with both company A and B. Yes. And based on what you shared, company B failed.
Yes.
How did you handle the challenging situation, and any advice on how to have the dialogue when it fails? What did you learn from it?
Oh, I learned so much. This was sort of the beginning of the pillars, or sort of the do's and the don'ts for sure. And then also meeting up with Mira, concluding when ending up here in sort of all the people that we have here in Solita. It's quite clear, as we said, the truths are universal when it comes to the do's and the don'ts, and the people side is the real killer if it's not time and pressure, sort of the protecting the focus. So what I really learned is that if you're new to a company, you can't come in and just know with all the proven methodologies. And that's a problem for us at Solita. When we come into a new place, we have to have people from inside the company working with us. You can't bring a team from whatever consultancy firm, put them in the company and say, change this. Yes, you need the injection of outside view and best practices, but you need to marry this with a company culture because it will eat you for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
We need those company insights. I mean, as you always said, you went to the regular university, not Hogwarts.
Exactly. So my biggest insight, how much culture and the resistance for change is a blocker if you don't. But if you work with that, if you communicate, if you invite, if you talk to them. So me being an engineer, I have learned very much the soft skills. That's my most important learning.
And I think the dialogue you're having with the company when it fails, you need to focus on what can we learn and do better in the future and not too much
and
dwell
also
on
have
the past.
dialogue with the people there, because dialogue, it is about learning yourself as well. It's not just about transmitting your own message as efficiently as possible. It's very much also learning and hearing what is there. So that is one of the sort of key factors of getting real information flow, is to initiate that dialogue.
And also, lastly, I think that, as I said, for Company B, they had a very short timeline because there were so many other things, and then you're not ready. Because you can't push that. It needs to take its time. You need to convince the people. You need to have the commitment from those being impacted. So that was another important learning for sure, that the priority focus, it really can kill. The transformation overload can really kill you.
There's actually a follow-up question on this, but how did you help Company B? Did you have the chance to do that?
No, so we weren't directly involved in that, so we weren't sort of able to impact exactly what they did. But I mean, as I said, it was a little bit maybe dramatic. It was sort of very black and white. They did not manage the change. They had to roll it back, so that was bad. But there were a lot of good outcomes, as I said, that were embedded. So they do things a little bit differently today. That is a little bit better. Of course, everyone learns, and if you're willing to take those learnings and embed them, but they still had this problem with not having the capability to manage coming transformations. So it's still a little bit of a problem for that.
So you weren't able to...
We weren't really able to influence. But I mean, in similar instances, when we would be in a situation like that, we would say, don't do this company-wide change, as I say. We would say, break it down to a small bounded area and test it. So we would give them all the pillars to check them through. And if you don't have the clarity, the direction, the commitment, the people, just take a small bit, work it. If it works, go for next, because that you can do incrementally. But have a year and have that rigid deadline, not possible.
Going on to the next, from an AI and data transformation perspective, which foundational skills are most critical at the junior level to support long-term success? This has actually two questions. Which roles or technical skill sets are currently in high demand but short supply in the job market, excluding soft skills?
Well, that's a tough nut, because I would have said that soft skills.
Yeah, I would also claim that.
Yeah, I think it is really the rise of the soft skills, because, it is that Swiss Army knife. You have to be, in a way, know what you use AI for, and then you will have to have those specific skills. But everywhere, the people role will become more important.
And talking about the agentic AIs, these do not have soft skills.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So you have to have the people that understands what happens, and that's a lot of experience. And as I say, for a company that has 80 years on the back, that's a long history to know, and it sits in people, in your guts, in a different way.
Analytical skills, are they soft skills or hard skills? Are people skills soft or hard? Depends on the people who you're asking. So.
And I actually claim that one, especially now talking about junior level, that one important thing I would see crucial is that you're able to openly ask questions and put yourself in the shoes of the others, so that you try to learn and understand what does their life look like.
Even with AI, if you don't answer that, what's in it for me, things are just not going to fly.
So we have quite some questions still, so I will continue.
Interesting.
Regarding the importance and tooling of organizational dialogue and voice of people, in which way is Solita using chat and other generative AI tools in change management programs?
Well, the core of everything is the ability to ask questions and get those answers. So yes, you could use them, but also AI at the moment, can you really trust it? The answers to your questions. For example, if you're like, what should I do in the middle of this? It either fits or it doesn't.
So I'm not aware that we would have like Gen AI enabled or a chat tool in a change management project currently.
No. And it's always the question of the data sets. Where to get the data that the AI would use.
I was going to say that. I mean, we struggle so much with data quality. Being data-driven is still held back by not having the right quality. And so for AI, this becomes even more important, not having good data and good semantic models for it to understand.
And at a customer, where to get that data to use those tools for.
Yeah.
There are even legal reasons why we can't do it. Access people's data.
And we do the Collab AI work.
Yeah, we've got the facilitation, but that's probably the best use for it.
It's more solution-oriented, as we talked about, in a different way.
And I think in the question, the word dialogue was used, which is very good. If you're using a chatbot as the tool for dialogue, it's not a dialogue.
No.
It's one way.
You get answers, but you don't get the real answers.
And you will not learn from what the people are asking. And so it's not a true dialogue.
So a dialogue also consists of all the undercurrents, the body language, the way that you speak, that you can't read.
And the chatbot would have to know all the plans and all the data that can affect what we are doing in the transformation. And they are just not simply doing that.
But I would see it very meaningful way that you have this as a Q&A bot. I need to understand when this will be hitting our team or whatnot, and collecting feedback and so forth. But it all still needs to go to people that then work with what was asked and so forth.
And there are some really good sort of sparring tools that you can ask that, on a personal level, what I feel this way, I am in a situation like this. There are some
tips and tricks.
So they are completely valid.
Now, a very interesting question, actually, I like this. Would be interested in your thoughts on when a transformation is not necessarily positive for end users. So thinking about what's in it for me.
But still having to do it.
It could be reorganization with people impact. It could be people impacts of agentic AI and impacts on headcounts. How would you approach that?
With honesty and respect. I mean, not all the changes we do to organizations are positive ones. There are reorganizations, sometimes even headcount reductions. But remember when I talked about the closer we get to people, the more we actually must manage it. Honesty and respect. Keep them updated. Don't keep them in the dark. Respect the people. Tell the facts, but but in a very respectful way. And, treat them as you would like to be treated in that situation.
And I think one thing you also mentioned, the answer of we don't know yet,
Yes.
or I don't know, or I'm also scared, is a really good answer.
We don't know yet, but we will tell you as soon as we know is a very, very good answer.
Yeah. But not using we don't know as an excuse for not selling.
Yeah.
Because it's better to, as you say, talk about this as early as possible and not keep people in the dark, because then they start inventing their own truth.
And
that's not good.
Those communication voids, they will be... all vacuums will be filled with something, and you'd rather be in control of
the narrative.
Yeah.
And again, the vision and the reason behind that transformation
is clarity,
crucial.
Is kindness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then there's one more: transformation versus reinvention. What is your view? I'm actually thinking, what is meant with reinvention?
Is it versioning? Then it's not transformation.
No, reinvention is that like, now we're doing this, now we're going to change and do that. If you go from one state to another, that requires a change. And how big a change it is. We talked about the complete and the radical in how you operate and how you compete and deliver value, then it is a transformation. So then you need the transformation in order to establish the new version of yourself, if that's what it is meant.
Yeah.
And if reinvention means huge transformation, it's a transformation.
It's a transformation. It's the same phenomena, same laws, same everything, same under there. It's just a transformation with a fancy name.
One more question, just out of curiosity: when a company implements AI as their tool, do they also address the environmental issues behind all AI usage? Also, major AI transformations are scary. Yes, they are, especially when organizational changes cause mass unemployment. Sorry about the possibly negative aspect. It's good to address.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, actually. We talked about the environmental impact of all these big data centers. We long been flight shaming, because flying is bad, but now it's time to maybe Netflix shame, because these big data centers do impact a lot with all the electricity that they need. So that's an interesting...
Do we see it? Not enough.
No.
Yeah,
we don't.
Because for me, it is all part of that pre-planning, that like really looking at what we are causing, what are we impacting thing. So I would say that, it's definitely an area that needs more attention.
We at Solita have this sustainable AI framework, so we do apply it. I haven't been that much involved currently in the situations where we then see how it's actually taken into use. But we have a tool to do that. But then again, like you said, it's still maybe a little early for people to actually get into it.
I think another interesting fact that we've seen has been reported, and not maybe we directly involved, but it's been reported in the business, that if you see AI as a tool to cut cost and people only, that tends to go not very well for you. I think that Klarna had that. They introduced the chatbots, they laid off a lot of people, and then that didn't really work because customers were not happy, and then they struggled to bring them back. I think the important and interesting question here is, like, if we introduce AI, what is it that we can take away from our people so they can do real value-adding things instead? So thinking of it just like a cut, but instead of opportunities.
Yeah, it's really about evolving as a company, not just, replacing something.
Yeah, I think there's so much more I'm thinking about that we could get into, but then we will run out of time. So maybe we're good. So
maybe we're good. Yeah.
So that's all, I would say.
Yep.
I actually think we have... this.
So thank you for your time and for listening us. And of course, we are here to help with your transformations, both the technical and the people side. And you can just contact any Solita office or use the contact form at the crash course page and we'll get back to you. And if you're super lucky, you might even hear from one of us.
If you still trust us.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.